I want to invite up another familiar face. As you know, the future of our city are our children, and the future of Muni ridership are our children. And we're very fortunate to have an SFMTA alumni whose passion has continued since he has retired from SFMTA service. And I think this was actually Chair Brinkman, your suggestion after learning about what he's been doing to invite him here to share what he's been doing with all of you and the public. So, Peter Albert.
Mr. Albert, welcome back.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brinkman, members of the board. At the same time, I'd like to invite up three people who are going to co-present with me. So Lydia and Cifredo and Denise, if you wouldn't mind getting up and standing behind me, that'd be great. So I am Peter Albert, retired SFMTA, and thank you for inviting us to come down and talk about this transit course idea that has been a lot of fun. I'd like to begin by explaining why we talked about this. We live in a city, and it can be tough on families or it can be fantastic for families. And we see Muni and the walkable sidewalks as really critical infrastructure to help children learn how to get independent, how to have a healthy growth, how to enjoy the city and embrace the city for all it can offer you when you're a city resident. But we also know that kids need to be safe and they need to feel safe. It's excellent that we're coming on the heels of that presentation about safety. But also, not every parent can take the time to orient their children as they're going from, let's say, elementary school to middle school and learning how to ride Muni by themselves. And too often, the parents have these difficult choices. They either chauffeur their kids everywhere, or they turn their kids loose on Muni, cross their fingers, and hope for the best. Neither one of those options are optimal. Both of those options are stressful. This course was aimed to support families by empowering kids and entrusting kids with responsibility. And we believe that if we guide kids and we give them a chance, that they'll measure up to our expectations. So the course had four basic parts. I'll go real quickly through those four parts, and then we're going to hear from three speakers. It began with a mapping exercise. Each kid was given a blank sheet of paper and a pencil, and we asked the kid, draw where you are in the city. Draw your closest transit station. Draw your walk from where you are to that transit station. Of course, that was difficult for people to do from memory. We said, don't sweat it. Pay attention to what you didn't get as you're trying this exercise over the span of the week that follows. Go back and fill in those gaps. Be more aware of your environment. Be clear about what it is to walk through the city, crosswalks, stop signs, and all that. The next thing we did was we put together a list of good and bad. And by good and bad, we mean good behavior, good conditions, bad behavior, bad conditions. The good included drivers who are welcoming people on the bus, or polite riders, people being considerate to seniors, to people with disabilities, to pregnant women. Was the train overcrowded? Was it dirty? Did we have to wait a long time? What were the sidewalk and crosswalk conditions going to the transit stop? And for listing the bad, it was important because we're really trying to help children feel more in touch with their intuition. To be safe on a train is to really know where you feel comfortable, know that the driver's there to help you, the station agent, and then to be aware of themselves and understand with your cell phones, with your clipper card, what can happen if you're not very attentive, and that they can contribute by being more self-aware to a better and safer Muni ride. And then we did the ride. So we had after-school enrichment program, and Lydia will represent that. We had 826 Valencia, represented by Cifredo, and Denise Donaldson, a parent of one of the St. Brendan students, will talk about her experience. We all rode Muni Metro to Forest Hill Station, and somewhere between Forest Hill Station and Castro is the Ghost Station. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but that was the highlight. But really what we saw was observing kids who knew how to behave and knew how to watch for behavior, documenting what they were seeing, understanding what Muni can mean for them. And then we wrapped it up with a debrief. We came back together, we added to that good and bad list. We talked about the fun that we had. We talked about how these students are the ambassadors for a better city tomorrow. So I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to invite Lydia to come up and talk about her experience as a member of the after-school enrichment program at McKinley School.
Welcome, Lydia.
Thanks. Okay, I'd like to share with you my positive experience in the pilot Muni course given to our after-school program ASEP this December. The course was taught by Peter Albert, who used to work as a planner for the SFMTA, so he had a lot of great information to share with us. I think a lot of students could learn very important skills from this course, such as how to ride Muni alone to and from school, how to be careful and courteous on Muni, and how to enjoy public transportation and maybe not need a driver's license later on. Next year, I will be starting 6th grade at Hoover Middle School and will be taking Muni home some days. The Muni course taught me about planning my route and making transfers. When I travel home from school next year, I will have to transfer from the L at the Castro station to the 24 bus onto Visadero, so the tips Peter shared with us will be really helpful. I will also hopefully have a phone by then that I can put the Muni app onto, which is great because you can see when the bus or train is arriving next. I'm feeling much more confident about taking Muni by myself next year. Another important skill that Peter taught us during the Muni course was how to be safe and polite while riding the bus or train. He gave us tips on looking for available seats and being aware of who we were sitting next to. If something starts to feel or seem strange, it's okay to get up and move closer to the driver or just to a different part of the bus or train car. Also, he told us to be aware of people who may need our seat, such as someone elderly, disabled, or pregnant, and to offer our seat to them when they get on. I think these examples of how to be safe and responsible on Muni were some of the most valuable parts of the Muni course. A part of the course that I really enjoyed was looking for the ghost station. I tried to show it to my mom while we were riding the L, but she can't seem to see it. Also, I really appreciate the idea that if more people in the city use public transportation, there will eventually be less cars on the road and less pollution. For me, being more comfortable riding Muni helps me enjoy the experience more, looking out the window and seeing the surroundings. It will be a long time before I can get a driver's license, and this knowledge will help me be an independent traveler. So in closing, I think the Muni course taught by Peter Albert was a very valuable experience that all students can benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Hello, my name is Sigifredo Ruelas. One of the experiences that I learned on the Muni trip is that people with disabilities and pregnant and elderly people need to have a seat. Now that I know that, I would give a seat to them. The first trip that I took, I understood the Muni map. Another thing I learned is that now I know the streets near Dolores Park. We took the J Church. I thought the driver was kind because when we were getting off the Muni, he waved goodbye and showed his teeth with a big smile. Thank you, Peter, for giving us this fun trip, and to the Muni for letting us get on the train and teaching us something new. Lastly, thank you all for coming on this very special day.
Thank you so much, Rafaela.
Hi, my name is Denise Donaldson. I'm a parent. I'm not checking my email. I just have my notes on my phone. I'm a parent of two children at St. Brendan's School. My oldest is a rising 5th grader, and my husband and I use the public transportation all the time, and we want our children to use it and to feel safe and comfortable using it. When I heard that Mr. Albert had given a Muni tour to rising middle schoolers, I'd asked a friend of mine to put me in touch with him, a friend who knew him, and asked him if he would be so kind as to give my daughter's Girl Scout class a tour. And he said he would. Most of the girls in the school are familiar with Muni, but they probably don't use Muni very frequently. Everybody had used it, but they didn't use it very frequently. It was great to see them have a mature conversation about the good and the bad parts of Muni, and to identify an amazing amount of good aspects of Muni, and just to have the awareness of various concerns that they should keep in their mind. It made me very comfortable as a parent to see this sense of empowerment in the children. And probably two of the biggest takeaways that I saw all of the girls have was that if they're using Muni alone, they should sit near the driver. And they all thought that was a great idea. And also something that Mr. Albert reinforced with them a number of times was to listen to your instinct. If there's somebody who looks sketchy, stay away from them. And that was just brilliant for these 5th graders to hear that from somebody other than a parent. And so it was just great for children who aren't very familiar with public transportation. It was a great program.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think you got the idea of how much fun this all was. I want to wrap up by thanking the MTA board. I definitely want to thank Paul Rose. Paul actually came to the first graduation class of 2018 in this class, and they got some really nice swag. We got this really cool Muni bag, so that every time you're shopping or whatever, and you want to know how to get home, it's on a map. So I think every one of the students got that. Bart also gave away some complimentary pins, so Bart was a partner in this as well. And we look forward to this being something that isn't just a one-off, but maybe an ongoing thing that happens with everybody who wants to learn how to use Muni, but just doesn't feel comfortable with it without some guidance. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Albert. And kids, Lydia, Frella, Ms. Donaldson, thank you so much for coming down and sharing your experiences with us. We work very hard to make sure that you feel comfortable riding the system and that Muni goes where you need to go. So I'm so pleased that you're going to be able to take advantage of it more as you grow older. And you'll share it with all your friends and tell everybody how amazing Muni is. And Peter, thank you so much. Thank you for coming down, and thank you for continuing to support our public transit system in your retirement.